Hey everyone, welcome to our gardening class. I'm Paul Dysinger and I'm super excited about our class tonight. And hey, kudos to you for showing up on time, right? I'm so stoked that you're here. And listen, we've got a lot that we're going to be covering. We're going to be talking about super practical garden sheets that you can implement in your garden and use to grow an abundance of veggies that taste amazing, to build up the health of your soil, to stop the bugs and keep them from destroying your crops and all of that coming right up. But hey, just before we jump into all of that, I want to encourage you and give a quick little reminder that if you haven't had the chance to download the worksheet for the class, now is the time to do that. All right, I'm going to put up a little link here on this page where you can click it. It'll open a new window, and in that new window there'll be a link where you can download the worksheet for the class. And it's going to really help you a lot because you're going to want to take notes. We've got a lot that we're covering. The worksheet breaks it down into sections, so it makes it a little bit easier, takes the stress off of you for taking those notes. So just click that link, go over, download the worksheet, and you'll be all set. So like I said, I'm super excited. I'm going to pull up some slides here and we'll dive right in. Okay friends, so today we're talking about 7 proven garden cheats to stop bugs from destroying your veggies, boost your soil health, and double your harvest without using toxic or harmful chemicals. And really these are garden sheets that we have been using in our garden, that we've used, that other people have used, that can really make a difference and give you an abundant harvest. So I'm really excited about sharing them with you. I mean, hey, listen, I want you to learn from our mistakes and our failures so that you can get to the successful garden that you dream of much faster. And here's a picture of me with a garden that I grew a while back. And tell you what, in just a minute, I'll share with you a little bit more, very briefly, about my story. But first, I've got a special announcement for you, and that is that we've got another free gift for you. And you might have noticed that this whole class experience is not just a class. Like, we really want to help you and build your gardening library with tools and cheats that really make a difference for you. And so, for example, like the Ultimate Garden Cheat Sheet that we gave you when you registered, our Gardening to Abundance mind map, and I forgot to mention it earlier, but we've got a resource list for this class as well that has links out to where you can get the different things that we'll be talking about that we use in our garden, like where you can get them for yourself and implement them in your garden. All of those are on our goodies page. I call it our goodies page, where you can click that link to download the worksheet, but it's got all of those other things. We really want to build this gardening library for you of tools that can be helpful for you. And I've got one more free gift for you here, and it's very simple to get it. It's a special bonus for those that stay with us to the end of the class here. And this is our plug and play garden plan. It is literally a $64 value. That's what people have paid for this garden plan. And in short, it's a plug and play garden plan that you can put to use right away in your garden. Grows 20 popular varieties of veggies and herbs. It's got a built-in crop rotation plan, help keep your soil healthy, your plants healthy. It's scalable, so it fits any size garden. You can cut it in half, you can double it, triple it, however you want. It also comes with growing tips for each of the veggies and herbs that are listed in the garden plan, and planting calendars based off of your location. That's a huge one. So basically you just find the calendar that fits your location and it'll tell you exactly when you should be planting each of the plants, each of the crops that are in the plug and play garden plan. So hey, it's yours for free. Just stay with us to the end of the class and I'll tell you how you can get it. Sound fair? Awesome. So let's talk about the 7 cheat secret. This is like my shortened, abbreviated title for the class, all right? So we're going to discover what expert gardeners are doing now to build healthy soil and grow a pest-free garden in their backyards, and how you can too, starting today, all right? Super practical cheats and tools that you can use in your garden, and why every gardener should know these 7 cheats and how they'll save you hours of time in your garden. Not only is they going to make your gardening experience easier, not only is it going to save you from bugs destroying your plants, but it's going to save you a ton of time as well. So we're going to be covering super practical things that you can do and use in your garden, like how our #1 best garden fertilizer can double your harvest and how it did it for us. How to use our 3-step proven aphid cure formula to kiss aphids goodbye forever. And hey, listen, I wouldn't just keep this just to aphids. I mean, I bet this three-step proven formula that will probably work with other insects as well. We'll also cover what not to do with tomato hornworms and our no-fail worm caterpillar treatment plan, how one new weeding trick kills weeds while you sleep. That's a super cool one there. How our stale seedbed method knocks out 70% of weeds before you even see them. This is a super simple method that will give your plants a huge head start. Really interesting. And I've got a bonus one here for you. Unannounced bonus, extra cheat here. Our little known secret to the best tasting tomato plants. If you want just bursting with flavor, you gotta check this out. We'll also talk about our instant gardening, how to grow food anywhere with up to 40 times more nutrients. That's incredible. And harvest it in only 14 days or less. This is so simple, your 6-year-old can literally do this. And finally, how our proven game plan grows in abundance with up to 50% less work. So, like you can see, we've got a lot to cover. We're going to be going super fast-paced, and here's my promise to you. I promise to share with you the exact strategies and resources we're using so you can use them right away in your garden, all right? I promise that the cheats you'll learn in this class alone could easily double your harvest, and I really believe that. I also promise that using the methods that we'll cover, you can cut down the work and time you put into your garden by up to 50%. Or even more. They're going to really save you a lot of time as well. And I promise to be honest with you and not to waste your time. There's enough fake information out there. I want to give you what's actually working right now. So, is that a bold promise? Yes, it is, but I'm planning to keep it here for you guys, all right? So, now is the time to silence distractions. We've got a lot that we're going to be covering like you just saw, and so I want you just to take your phone, put it on airplane mode, move the mouse over, close down Facebook, shut off Instagram. There's 1,000 voices trying to get our attention in life. I understand that, and I appreciate you giving your attention this evening. And to get the most out of this class, just silence those distractions. Get out your pen, your paper. Hopefully you downloaded the worksheet so you can take notes, and it's going to make a real difference in your garden. I'm doing this because I want you to experience the joy of growing your own food without the headache of trying to figure it all out on your own. I want you to learn from our failures, from our experiences. You know, I've learned from other people's failures and experiences, and it's really going to, it gets you to your goal of growing an abundance of wonderful food much faster when you learn from what, instead of going through the school of hard knocks yourself, you can learn from it, and you'll get there a lot faster. So very briefly, let me just give you a quick little background on my story. I grew up, my family always had a garden. My mom was a passionate gardener, and we lived overseas for many years. So these pictures are from Tanzania. You can see my sister and I out in our garden there. And when I say my mom was a passionate gardener, I mean that. Like, she literally, like I said, we lived overseas, and when we would travel, she would be taking plants with us on the airplanes, like in her backpack. We traveled with compost, like we would take our compost with us. So I'm not even joking. So I grew up with a mom that was just passionate about gardening, and she got us kids gardening. And then, so over the years, we had a garden, and finally we moved back to the States and settled down on Bountiful Blessings Farm in Tennessee, where for many years my dad, Edwin on the left here, and my Uncle John partnered together and ran the farm, where we grew a huge variety of vegetables, herbs, and berries. And literally, we would do this year-round. These are some pictures of the produce there on the farm. And we did it year-round. Like, you can see this picture of fresh veggies that were harvested in January, I believe, was that shot. And you know, it was really a fun time working together as a family. Here's my cousin Caleb, my nephew Caden, packing produce boxes. And it was a really awesome time in our history. And you know, I learned a lot through those years of working with the family in the commercial farming business. Then later on, I branched off and started my own business, Born to Grow, teaching people how to grow their own food online. And so, hey, that's how you're on this class here with us. And so now my dad and I and my mom here, my dad Edwin and Jennifer, have taught thousands of people from around the world how to grow their own food and the simple strategies that we use. In fact, this picture was taken right before going on to one of our largest classes that we ever did. We had over 2,000 people registered from over 40 different countries, and it's been a real privilege to be able to do that. And as time went on, I ended up marrying my favorite person in the whole world, my wonderful wife, Natasha, and so she's joined the team. And so all of us together, we love sharing our knowledge with other people. And since then, we've had the opportunity not just to grow in a farm setting, but to grow in a not-so-farm setting. My wife and I right now are living in a basement apartment, and so we're getting the opportunity to learn what it's like to grow on a patio, to grow in containers. I know some of you on here probably are in that situation, needing to grow in containers, and the cheats that we're going to share with you are practical for that as well. You can see us growing microgreens on the steps going down into our basement apartment there. And the harvest can still be wonderful. But, along the way, like I said, we've experienced the challenges as well. These are some worms that were attacking our collards and kale, and we know what it's like for your plant to look like this, for it to become devastated, and that's almost dead. But we also know what it's like to know what to do and to watch your plants come back to life and still be able to get a harvest off of that. So that's what I'm excited about sharing with you today. And over the years, Born to Grow has been noticed and has really had the privilege and the opportunity of speaking and sharing at many different places. Very early on, right when I launched our garden blog online, I had the privilege of winning and entering into the Garden Bloggers Hall of Fame as the best new garden blog. And that's a whole little story in of itself. But over the years, I also had the opportunity to speak and share at many different places, like the Grow Your Own Food online summit. Was able to speak on the Urban Farm University podcast multiple times at Sustainable Preparedness, at the Adventist Agriculture Association conferences. And it's been a real privilege to share these tools and cheats and techniques that we use in our garden to be a blessing to other people. And really, that's what means the most to me, is when I hear back from the people that we have taught, and I hear how it is changing their experience in their lives in the garden. For example, like Roy Kim, when he wrote in and said there was a very noticeable difference in the amount of fruitage this year compared to last year. I really got to give credit where credit is due, so I thank God and thank you for sharing the knowledge and wisdom to the masses. That really warms my heart. That's what fuels my fire, is hearing about how these tools make an impact in other people's lives, like Jennifer Lingerfeld, who said, "I just wanted to tell you, Paul, thank you for making my gardening experience such a joy. My 2 eggplants were dropping blossoms, and flea beetles or chewing holes in the leaves. Within a few days after side dressing, they put on many blossoms, hardly any flea beetles, and many healthy leaves looking good." So, that's what fuels my fire, and that's why I'm excited to share with you these cheats today, because I want to hear from you of how they make a difference, how you get an abundant harvest, how you double your harvest using them, right? So let's talk about how can you stop the bugs from destroying your veggies? How can you boost your soil health and double your harvest without using toxic or harmful chemicals? Let's dive right in with cheat number 1. So, got your pen and paper ready? All right. How our number 1 best garden fertilizer can double your harvest and how it did it for us. There's a little bit of a background story to this cheat, and that is that I was growing these tomatoes, a couple eggplants, pepper plant, a bunch of greens, and as they were growing, they just were not thriving. They were not getting the nutrients. I had a liquid fertilizer that I was using for them, but they just really were not getting the nutrients that they needed, and I could tell something was wrong. And so throughout the season, they just did not do well. They kind of grew well for a little bit, and then they plateaued, and then they started going downhill, and really it got to a point where if I didn't act fast and do something, I was going to lose these plants, or the harvest was going to end, basically. Like you can see in these shots here of my tomato plants and my eggplants here just not doing well, leaves getting yellow, getting holes in them, started to have pest problems. And it was about that same time that I came across this organic vegan fertilizer mix, and I was like, hey, I got to give that a try. So I ordered it. It was like $13 off Amazon, and it arrived. I fertilized my plants, and within a few weeks, the
The change was absolutely phenomenal. It just totally blew me away. It was amazing what happened. Look at my plants. Look at these shots here of what happened just 29 days later. And actually it was probably less than that from the time that I put the fertilizer on to when I took these video shots here. And you can just see how the tomatoes just burst out with new life. The eggplants burst out bright new beautiful green leaves, the most beautiful green leaves I've seen on eggplants. And my pepper plant, like I literally ate a pepper from that pepper plant that was so sweet. It was the best pepper I've ever tasted in my life. We planted a new planting of greens and they grew phenomenally. And you know, unfortunately I didn't actually keep track of it, but I think that we probably got a double harvest from that planting of greens, the Swiss chard and the kale, from the earlier planting of greens that we had done in the spring, because this was a fall planting. So it was pretty amazing. So you want to hear what this fertilizer is, because this is what I now call our #1 fertilizer, like you can see from those shots here. So the fertilizer mix is called Down to Earth Vegan Mix, and it's super powerful for your garden. Here's a few reasons why I really appreciate it. #1, it's OMRI listed for organic use. So it's very natural to use. There's no synthetic fertilizers in it. It's 100% plant-based, and now I'm not 100% against using any animal products in the garden, but I like to be very careful where they come from, and oftentimes it's not very easy to know where they come from, so hey, it's a plus just to go 100% plant-based in this case. It's got an excellent balance of nutrients. It's got soybean meal, canola meal, alfalfa meal, rock phosphate, langbionite, green sand, kelp meal, and humic acids in it. And the other thing is that they promise that they don't source anything from GMO sources. So like they don't use GMO soybeans to make it. So it's super good mix of nutrients there. Now, remember I said I was using a fertilizer before, and the fertilizer I was using was a BioThrive vegan plant food. It's a liquid fertilizer, but it's missing some nutrients that are really important for your plants, and so that's why it wasn't working as well. It still is a good fertilizer to use if you're growing out in the garden where some of those other nutrients are available. It's a good booster fertilizer like you'll hear me talk about later, but I really like the vegan mix even better. So here's how to use it, all right? What you want to do is you want to spread 4 to 6 pounds per 100 feet of bed, and you can just do the math and calculate it down to whatever your garden size is. And there's instructions on the box itself. In fact, that's where these instructions come from. And then you want to use 1 to 2 tablespoons per plant when transplanting, just to give them an extra little boost when they're getting started there. During your season, you can side dress your adult plants with about 1/2 cup of it, and I would really encourage doing that in your garden. It's going to give the plants that extra nutrients to keep them healthy during the season. For containers, if you're growing in containers, and actually my tomatoes and stuff that I gave, that I was sharing in this example, I was growing in containers, so this is what I use. So if you're container gardening, this is excellent, but you can use it in your regular garden too. For containers, you want to do 2 to 4 tablespoons per gallon of soil mix. And then you want to apply it once per month during the growing season. It's not that expensive. On the resource list, I've got a link out to where you can get it. So you'll want to make sure to get over to that page, and I'll send that page out to you by email as well, so that you can download that resource list and you can just click the link over to get it for yourself. Super inexpensive for a box like this off of Amazon. Is like 13 bucks. So this fertilizer by itself literally could, in fact, double your harvest, kind of like it did with our greens there from our fall planting versus our spring planting. Like I said, I'm pretty sure we got around double the amount of greens just by using a better fertilizer. And your plants need that nutrients, and it's going to keep them healthier. And the truth is, if the healthier your plants are, the less bugs and disease pressure that you'll have as well. It's kind of like our bodies. The healthier we are, the more resistant we are to sicknesses and disease. But then the question comes in, what happens if you get compromised, and what happens if your plants get stressed and you do have a bug or disease problem? Then how do you deal with that? So #2, our second cheat here, is how to use our 3-step proven aphid cure formula to kiss aphids goodbye forever. All right, and I have to tell you a quick little clarification here, and that is that, you know, there are so many multiple circumstances when it comes to farming that it's a little hard to make a promise that every single time, always, you'll get rid of the aphids forever, because there may be a certain circumstance in your area that is stressing your plant in a different way. But I can tell you that what you do here, if you follow this step-by-step process, you will get rid of the aphids that are on your plants forever, because once they're dead, they're gone forever, right? And there's a pretty good chance that they're not going to come back. So here's the background story. My wife and I had to go on a trip once, and we had these little collards that we were growing, and we had them started, but then we went on a trip, and hey, traveling and gardening don't go too well together. So by the time we got back, they had overgrown their little blocks of soil that they were growing in, and they were sick, and this is what they looked like in this picture here. And they literally had aphids underneath the leaves that were, you know, just on the plants. They are sick, they were dying, there were holes in the leaves turning yellow, they were on their death beds. And my wife was pretty upset about it, because these were like her little babies that she was wanting to save. But I had this idea, and I thought, you know, I want to try this simple 3 little steps and see what happens. And it was absolutely amazing what happened. It was absolutely phenomenal. So here's the 3-step formula, and then I'll show you what they look like afterwards. Number 1, you want to spray your aphids with soapy water. And the way you can do that is just get a simple spray bottle and mix a couple squirts of dish soap with water in your spray bottle. You can just use regular kitchen dish soap. We used like a lemon Melaleuca dish soap that we had in our kitchen. Squirt it in your bottle, a couple squirts, and mix it with the water. And squirt that on the aphids, and that literally will kill the aphids. So like I said, once you kill them, those aphids are gone forever. And then it's the next step that will keep more aphids from coming back. So step number 2 is that you want to fertilize that plant to boost its immune system. You really want to give it a real boost. The healthier your plant is, the more resistant it's going to be to diseases and pests, and the less likely aphids are going to come back. So what I used was, I used BioThrive at that time. It was the liquid fertilizer just to give the plant an extra boost of nutrients. Or probably today I would go to the Down to Earth Vegan Mix. I would just side dress it with it and water it in really good. That means mixing some of the fertilizer around the plant, watering it in really good. And then step number 3 is what I just said: water the plant well. In fact, aphids, sometimes it's just a stress of not being watered that brings the aphids on in the first place. And so sometimes watering it by itself can get rid of the aphids. But if you use these other steps, spray them with soapy water, fertilize them, water the plant well, and there's a pretty good chance, like I said, that you're not going to have those aphids come back, and your plant is going to do phenomenal. So you want to see what it looked like 21 days later, just a few weeks later. This is what our plants look like. Absolutely phenomenal. Just completely transformed. And I'll make a little observation here that these are new leaves. The old leaves there didn't metamorphose into these beautiful new leaves. This is new growth, but you can see how our plant is just doing beautifully. The aphids are gone. This is before, you can see on the left, after on the right, and those plants did amazing. Just using this 3-step formula, got rid of the aphids, boosted the plant health. And like I said earlier on, I would use this same formula for other bugs and insects and pests. You want to deal with the pest in a natural way that's not going to hurt a lot of other insects in the area. It's not going to hurt your own personal health. But then you want to focus on building up the health of your plant, getting it fertilized, getting it healthy. And when you have a healthy plant, you'll have less bug and disease problems in your garden. And so, you know, what's really neat is that our little 3-step aphid cure, I call it our proven method, because not only did it work for us, but it also worked for one of our gardening members, Laree. She tried it out on hers as well, and she says, she posted in our Facebook group, she says, as promised, here's the before and after pictures of my cabbage and kale that had aphids on them. I did as Paul suggested in his case study, sprayed the leaves with soapy water, fertilized with BioThrive, made sure they were getting enough water, and it worked perfectly. So it didn't just work for us, it's working for other people too, and you can go use it right away in your garden too. Alright, so let's move on to cheat number 3 here. what not to do with tomato hornworms, and our no-fail worm caterpillar treatment plan. This is really important. But first of all, let's talk about what should you do the first time you see that there's a tomato hornworm on your tomato plants. Number one is assess the situation. See how many hornworms you can find, and I would encourage you to look carefully over your plants, assess the situation, see how bad your infestation is, all right? And then, as you're looking for the tomato hornworms, here's what you want to keep a lookout for, and that is look for infected ones. And here's what an infected tomato hornworm looks like. It's got these little white sacs on the back of it. And if you have a tomato hornworm that has these sacs on the back of it, that is good news, because that means that you have your friend, the wasp, in the area. It's a braconid wasp, and it's a beneficial insect because it helps control your tomato hornworm population. Here's what they do. They lay their eggs on the tomato hornworm. The larvae then eat the hornworm alive, literally, and as they mature, they spin these little white cocoons on the hornworm, like you saw in the last picture there, and eventually your tomato hornworm dies. We had some tomato hornworms on our tomatoes, and when I found that they had been infected like this, I decided not to do anything with them because I want to keep that wasp around in our area. I want more baby wasps so that it naturally, this is the way that the natural ecosystem keeps itself in balance. And so you want that to happen in your garden. So if you see a tomato hornworm that has these little sacs, what not to do is kill it. Leave it, let it be, and let those wasps thrive. And eventually they'll look like this in this picture. This is what it looks like as the tomato hornworm dies because of it's being eaten by those little wasp larvae. But then the next question is, what if you don't have any infected ones, or what if you have some that aren't infected? What do you do? What is the no-fail treatment plan? And this is a no-fail treatment plan not just for tomato hornworms, but for any other worms or caterpillars that are on your collards, kale, cabbage. You can often have problems there. So what you want to do is use a product called Dipel. This is an organic worm treatment, and what it is, it's called Bacillus thuringiensis. It's a natural soil-borne bacteria. And this bacteria, when the worm eats it, it breaks down the gut of the worm, and the worm stops eating and eventually dies within a couple days. So what you want to do is get this product called Dipel, and you may be able to get it in a pre-mixed solution that you can just spray on your plants right away, or it may come as a dust or powder, and so then you can either dilute it in water and spray it on your plants, or you can dust it as a powder. I've done both ways on plants, and there are different companies that sell a spray that you can use that you want to, the main thing is you want to look and see that it's got the active ingredient of Bacillus thuringiensis, BT, and that it is organic and OMRI approved. But Dipel is the one that I would suggest. And then let your worms have a feast, and as they eat it, the process is going to take place with them. I actually used this just a while ago on some collards that had gotten stressed, and I got these worm problems. There's a picture of them on the side here, and it worked beautifully, and the plants came back to life, and I never had a problem with worms with them afterwards. So this is an organic, natural way to deal with worms and caterpillars in your garden. Now, I wouldn't just eat the Dipel yourself. Like, you still want to wash your plants, and that's another thing to notice is that it will get washed away with rain, and so you may need to apply it a couple times if you have rain come on in between when you apply it and your worms are eating it. So that's something to keep in mind, but it works pretty much every time. So once again, in the reference cheat list there, I'll have a link out where you can get some of this for yourself and use it in your garden. It can really save your harvest of tomatoes, your harvest of greens, cabbage, get those caterpillars and worms to stop eating your veggies. Super powerful cheat. All right. Got to move on here. Cheat number 4. How one new weeding trick kills weeds while you sleep. This is something that we've been using more recently, and it's really a great way to prepare your garden beds and kill a bunch of early weeds in your garden. So It's what we call our silage tarp trick. And here's what you do. First of all, you want to prepare your garden beds so that they're ready to plant. That is step number one. Get them all ready to plant. So work up the soil, loosen the soil, mix in any compost and fertilizers in your soil so that it's all ready to smooth the beds out so it's ready to plant, like you can see in the picture on the side here. Then what you want to do is purchase a large silage tarp. And again, I'll have a link in the resource document of where you can get one for yourself. And you spread this, it's very thick plastic, it's black on one side, white on the other. You spread it out over your garden area and then let it sit for at least 1 month. So you've got to kind of think ahead of time, all right? So let it sit for a month, and what's going to happen is your first crop of weeds is going to come up under the tarp, and they're not going to have any light, and so they're going to die. And your whole first crop of weeds, you can get rid of them, and literally eliminating them while you sleep, like I said. So, but you need at least a month ahead of time for it to work pretty well. The longer the better, if you can think ahead far enough. And then, like I just said, the weeds will sprout and die underneath. And like you can see in the video here, when you pull that tarp back, it's so beautiful to see these beds that are just perfect, ready to plant in. You go plant in them, and the key with getting them ready ahead of time is that if you stir up the soil and prepare your beds after you've had the tarp on, it's going to mix the ground around, and weed seeds that were further down will come up and they'll sprout and grow. And so you kind of ruined the whole effect. So it's key to prepare your garden beds ahead of time and then use this tarp to cover them and knock out a whole batch of your weeds ahead of time. So it's a great little tip. And this next cheat here, cheat number 5, is also super, super cool when it comes to beating the weeds in your garden. We call it our stale seed bed method, and I'm going to share with you how it can knock out 70% of weeds before you even see them. And you know, that percentage might be more or less. I'm just guessing here. But here's how the stale seed bed method works. Number one, what you want to do is you want to prepare your garden bed 1 week or more ahead of time. So with both of these tricks, you need to be thinking ahead in your garden. So prepare it 1 week ahead of time, smooth it all out, add those compost, add those amendments like I just said, and then you want to water the bed to encourage the weeds to germinate, to come up. All right, so you're actually growing your first crop of weeds. This is before you planted any of your plants. So water it to encourage the weeds to germinate. Then you want to wait for a few days or a week for the weeds to come up, and you'll begin seeing them sprout. Just small little ones coming up, just barely pushing up out of the ground. That's all that you need to wait for, is just when they barely come up. And then what you want to do is use a very shallow cultivation, stirring the top 1/4 inch of soil just before planting your crop. So you come in with a tool like a hoe, or we use a special hoe called a collinear hoe or a stirrup hoe that just skims and cuts the top 1/4 inch of the soil. And what happens is when those seeds are just sprouting, we call it their white thread stage, because if you've seen a sprout, it's got this little white thread of root coming out, and then the little leaves start poking out the other side. And when it's at that stage, it's at the most vulnerable point of its life. And just stirring that top soil and disrupting it can knock it out and kill it. And so sometimes those weeds are just sprouting, or oftentimes they're just sprouting under the ground before you can even see them, and stirring the top of the soil knocks them out before you even saw them. So you want to use that shallow cultivation and do it just before planting your crop. And you can do this multiple times. Like if you prepare the garden bed 2 weeks ahead of time, you can prepare it, water it, wait for a week, cultivate it, water again, wait for another week, cultivate it, and then plant your plants. And we've done that before and had plants that are just way ahead of any weeds that come up, because it knocks out that whole crop of weeds from the beginning, and you don't have that weed pressure. So stale seed bed method, excellent way to save a ton of time with weeding in your garden. Just takes a little bit of thinking ahead and get that garden prepared, and it'll give your plants a huge head start in the garden. All right, moving on, and I've got this bonus cheat here for you, unannounced. Just wanted to throw it in, give you some extra value in this class, and this is our little known secret to the best tasting tomatoes. This is one of my favorites. I like this secret, so I wanted to share it with you here, all right? So what I call it our secret to massive flavor. Here's what you want to do, okay? You want to, number one is water your tomato plants. All right, super simple. Just get the water out, water your tomato plants. But here's the key. Here's where the key comes in, and that is you want to wait 48 hours after watering the tomato plant. So that's 2 days before harvesting. So then you harvest. So you water them, wait 48 hours, and then harvest your plants. And then you can repeat that cycle again. And the truth is it works with other veggies and berries as well. But what happens is the tomatoes, well, when you water them, the plant pulls in all this water and it dilutes the flavor in the fruit. But if you let it dry out and have that little dry spell, the sugars in the fruit will become concentrated as the plant dries out and has that little dry spell. And when you pick it after that dry spell, the sugars are going to be more concentrated and taste amazing. So once again, here you go. Water it, wait 48 hours, harvest, then water again, and then wait 48 hours, and you can rinse and repeat over and over, and you'll have the best tasting tomatoes. It's going to work with like your strawberries, other fruits, melons especially. You want to give melons a good dry period before you harvest the melon. It will really sweeten them up and make a huge difference. So that's our little secret to massive flavor. I just wanted to throw that in for you guys. All right, moving on to cheat number 6 here. Instant gardening, how to grow food anywhere with up to 40 times more nutrients and harvest it in only 14 days or less. This is also one of my favorites. So much fun. Imagine something that is so easy your 6-year-old can do it. It only takes a few minutes a day. You can start for only $20 or less doing this. You can eat your first harvest in only 14 days. Like, there's no other way. That's instant gardening. There's no other plant that you can grow that you can harvest in 14 days, right? You're growing food with up to 40 times the nutrients of regular veggies, including nutrients that are extremely important for your skin, your eyes, and fighting cancer. So not only are you harvesting it in 14 days, but that harvest is super nutrient dense. You don't have to deal with weeds and pests, and you can grow this all year round anywhere. Sound amazing? It is amazing. And in fact, the researchers that were studying this said that it totally knocked me over. That's a quote. It was quite astonishing, and when we first got the results, we had to rush to double and triple check them. So what are we talking about? We are talking about microgreens. Microgreens are the absolute rage. They're super power-packed, nutrient-dense food that you can grow so simply. Like I said, your 6-year-old can do that. Here, WebMD talking about microgreens packed with nutrients, how they have up to 40 times more vital nutrients than mature plants. USDA talking about specialty greens packed with a nutritional punch. NPR introducing microgreens, younger and maybe more nutritious vegetables. So, how can you grow them yourself? They're so easy, and I'm going to just walk you through very quickly a quick list and the steps to grow them for yourself, because they're so easy and I want you to be able to grow them for yourself. So here's what you need. Number one is you need trays, like a tray to grow it in. And I like a simple 10 by 10 tray, all right? And again, like I said, in the resource list, I'm going to give you links out where you can get these for yourself, and we try and find the best prices for you. Then the second thing you need is a growing medium, and we use coconut coir. Very simple, easy to use. Then, of course, you need the seeds to grow, right? And finally, you need a fertilizer, and you can use BioThrive, like I was mentioning earlier, or the Down to Earth Vegan Mix is a great fertilizer that you might want to use. And then finally, last one is a light, and that is optional depending on where you're growing it. If you got a bright, sunny windowsill, you could probably just grow them there. If you can grow them outside, that's great. If you're growing them inside, and this is where I said you can literally grow these anywhere, you can grow them in the basement with a simple light. So, let's talk about starting your microgreens. What you want to do is soak and spread your coconut coir in the tray, like you can see in the picture here. And you want your coconut coir moist, but like a wringed out sponge. So moisten it down, soak it, spread it out in your tray, and we do it about 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep for most of our microgreens. Microgreens you can grow like different types of greens, like your your cabbage, collards, kale. People grow radish microgreens. You can grow all kinds of different, you can grow lettuce, all kinds of different greens that you can grow. There are larger microgreens that you can grow, like peas or sunflowers. A little bit different setup, but I'm going to walk you through growing. So let's say you're growing kale or cabbage here. So you want to spread the coconut core 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. Then you gently pat it down just to smooth the top surface of it, and spread your seeds about 10 to 12 seeds per square inch on that coconut core. Don't cover them, just spread them out over the top. And some people like to soak their seeds ahead of time. I personally don't, but if you do soak your seeds ahead of time, it just is supposed to help speed up the germination process. If you do soak them ahead of time, it's helpful just to dry them off. Otherwise, they stick to your fingers when you're trying to spread them out over the coconut core. And so just spread them out 10 to 12 seeds per square inch in your tray. Then don't cover the seeds unless they're large seeds, like I mentioned earlier, like sunflowers or peas. If you're growing those, you'll probably want a thicker coconut core, and then you do cover those for them to sprout well. But the smaller seeds, just leave them out on top and set them aside in a warm place to sprout. And what you want to do at the very beginning is cover the tray. You can use a plastic bag, you can use another tray, just something to keep the humidity up while they're sprouting. And when you put your seeds down, you want to spray them with a water bottle to moisten them down, and then you cover it with this plastic tray, put it in a warm place, wait for them to sprout, and keep them covered until they're germinated. They'll germinate, most of them germinate within a few days. So you just keep them covered, they'll germinate, and then you'll take that cover off once they have germinated and started coming up, like you can see in the little picture here. Then it's important to keep your soil moist as they are growing. So you can use a water bottle and mist them. But if you do this, what you want to do is, instead of misting just the top of the leaves, like put the spout of your little mister water bottle down in between the leaves and squirt it down into the coconut core beneath. That will save you with disease pressure, because they can, since they're growing so close together, they can have fungal or mold disease pressure in them. So if you keep that moisture off of the leaves and down in the coconut core, they're going to do better. Another option is that if you get trays that have holes in the bottom of them, you can dip that tray in water to water it from beneath, so you're not getting the leaves wet as well. And then you want to place it in a place that has bright light, like in a bright sunny windowsill or outside where it can get sunshine, or with a little light that you can set up inside somewhere, like you can use a grow light. And then you let them grow, right? So how do you care for them as they're growing? Number one is don't let your soil dry out. You want to keep it moist. So that might mean watering them every day, maybe even twice a day if it's needed, or every other day. Just keep an eye on it to make sure and keep that soil moist as they're growing. Then microgreens, people ask, what's the difference between microgreens and sprout? And the difference is that microgreens are actually the next stage of growth for a plant. You're actually growing the plant, and you're going to harvest the plant and eat the plant. A sprout is just the stage where it's just barely sprouted. And so because microgreens are growing to a larger stage of the plant, they're actually beginning to take up nutrients, whereas sprouts, you only get the nutrients that were in the seed. Microgreens are taking up nutrients, so you want to fertilize them with, and you can fertilize in the water if you're using like a liquid fertilizer like BioThrive. Otherwise, you will want to put like a powdered fertilizer in with the coconut core before you get it set up, before you plant them in there. Just mix the powder fertilizer in and it can grow, and that's a great way to do it. And when it comes to watering, there's another option here, and that is that you could set the trays up with our autopilot tray system. This is something that we teach our gardening members, and that is a very simple tray setup that I invented that the microgreens literally water themselves. And actually the picture here is of one of our autopilot tray systems. It's got a reservoir of water down beneath, and then the water just comes up and the microgreens water themselves. So literally it's a system where you can seed it, wait for them to germinate, set it, forget it, and come back 14 days later and harvest your microgreens. And it takes a ton of work out of the growing them, and it's just an awesome system. But sorry, I don't have enough time to teach you that here today. It is something that we go into in more detail with our members, and really cuts down on all of the work of growing your microgreens and makes it super simple. So then comes the fun part, and that is harvesting. And you're ready to harvest when the second set of leaves begin to appear in your microgreens. If you look closely at this picture, most of these don't have that second set of leaves quite coming up yet. There is one down at the bottom there, and they're just about at the stage that we'd harvest them. You can harvest them a little bit earlier if you want to. That's just around the stage that you want to harvest them. So what you do is gently hold them with your fingers and snip the microgreens just above the coconut core. You want to use sharp scissors or a knife so you get a nice clean cut. And the best value of your microgreens is to harvest them just before eating. So harvest them, put them in your salad. There's a ton of great ways you can eat microgreens. Put them in your salads, you can put them in sandwiches, you can juice them, you can use them as a garnish. Whatever you do, just harvest them right before you eat them, and you'll get the most nutrient-dense punch out of them. You can also put them in soups. And microgreens really are so much fun to grow, and if you have kids, it's a great way to get kids excited about growing. Like I said, it's like instant gardening. You get a harvest right away, up to 40 times the nutrients of an adult plant. That's incredible. And I did the math out, and you actually, pound for pound, you still save money. You can still save money by growing microgreens than by buying adult kale leaves in the store, like a bunch of kale from the store, versus growing kale microgreens. Pound for pound, you can still save money. Plus, you get all of the extra nutrients, right? So it's a no-brainer. You got to try growing some microgreens. All right, and here is Laurie again sharing how she was growing microgreens. She posted these pictures in our Facebook group. She had started growing her first microgreens with her kids, and she set hers up with our autopilot tray system like I was telling you about, and just had phenomenal results. This is 5 days later, and look at these beautiful trays ready to harvest. So I hope that inspires you. You got to try it for yourself. Okay, so let's move on to our last cheat here, cheat number 7. Are you guys having fun? I'm having a blast. Cheat number 7, how our proven game plan grows in abundance with up to 50% less work. I hope that these cheats have really been making a difference for you, and you've been able to see how you can use these in your garden. And this last cheat, it's a little different than the previous ones, but it really forms a foundation for saving a ton of time in your garden and really cutting down on the work that your garden is going to take. And that is that with the right game plan for your garden, with the right plan in place, you can grow a lot of food with a lot less effort, a lot less disease, less work, less stress, and less overwhelm. But the key is in your game plan. And that's one reason why I'm giving you our Gardening to Abundance mind map that you can download and see our game plan from start to finish. And I'm going to give you a little overview of our game plan here, because you can take this and use it in your garden like a checklist of the things that you should be focusing on, the things that you need to do at the different stages of your garden. It really creates a framework, and having that framework all by itself can save you a ton of time in your garden. So the Gardening to Abundance game plan, our Born to Grow game plan, I've divided the gardening season and the whole gardening process into 4 different stages. Number 1 I call ignition. Number 2 is launch. That's when you're just getting ready, the starts are starting. Number 3 is grow, taking care of your plants. And number 4 is extend, extending your garden season into the fall, growing through the winter, and all of that. So briefly, let's dive in and talk about what is it that is covered in each of these stages, because as you're going through your season, as you're planning your garden, you're going to want to make sure that you have these things in place. If you have the things in place in each of these stages, you're going to have a much more successful garden. It's going to save you a lot of work, like I said before. So in the ignition stage of your garden, this is the beginning. This is what you should be doing right now, especially if you're just getting started here, right? Maybe you've already started some things, but this is the very beginning of your garden ignition. And that is, you're going to be planning your garden, right? That means choosing what you're going to grow, choosing where you're going to be growing it, mapping it out on paper. But also in this section is you'll want to do a soil test possibly. There are options like if you don't want to do a soil test, but we encourage all of our members to get a soil test done. And we go into detail sharing with them a very simple place that you can get the soil test done for you, get the results back, go over those. We walk them through step by step the process of how to do that. And it makes such a difference for your garden to make sure that you got the right nutrients there. This is part of Ignition, getting ready as you build up for that gardening season. You want to order your soil amendments if you need to add any more nutrients to your garden. Order your seeds. Get everything ready so that you're ready to launch. That's the whole idea of Ignition, right? So, and go download that mind map, all right? You don't have to do it right now, but like I said, I'll send the link out in an email later. Download that mind map and use it as a checklist. Like, do I have my garden planned? Have I chosen what I'm going to grow? This is, check it off, and it's gonna help you with creating that framework for your garden this season. The second stage here is launch, and that is, in this stage, you're going to be focusing on bed preparation, amending your soil, like building up the health of your soil. Like you'll add those amendments, those fertilizers to your soil as you plant your plants in. So preparing your beds, getting it ready, seeding your garden, starting your starts. That's why you're launching the plants. They're starting to grow. Starting your plants, transplanting, and you'll want to know which plants you should transplant, which plants not to transplant, and also composting is in this part as well, because you want to maintain that soil health over time, and that starts at the beginning of the season. You know, as you are going through your season, you're going to have compostable materials that you want to start composting and getting ready. So these are the things to keep in mind when it comes to the launch stage of your garden. Like I said, get that checklist and just make sure that you've got these in place. Number 3, the third stage is grow. And this is exciting, right? This is the stage where your plants are growing and producing. And so there are things that you need to focus on, like watering your plants and different watering techniques, weeding your plants, how to keep them weed free without spending hours on your knees pulling weeds. And so you can use like the weeding cheats that we just shared in this class. Trellising your plants, having a good trellising system for like your tomatoes and green beans and other plants that might need trellising. Pest control, natural disease control. This is the stage where you're probably going to be facing most of your pest and disease problems. If you have any, how do you deal with those? Harvesting your plants. That's the exciting part, getting that abundant harvest and then storing. Some of your crops may be storage crops, like potatoes. How do you store those? How do you keep them for a longer time? So this is what you want to be focusing on during the grow phase of the garden. And so, you know, there is a little bit of overlap between these stages. They blend in together, but it gives you a pretty good idea of what you need to be focusing on and when you need to be focusing on that. And then the last stage here is timing, is extend, you know, growing your garden later into the fall, growing it straight through the winter. Really key here is timing for winter gardening. You need to know when you need to get those plants in, protecting your veggies, making sure they have good protection in the winter, and then growing veggies in the winter. How do you do that? So that's what you'd want to focus on. And what I would encourage everyone is, if you're new to gardening, start out with the first 3 stages. You know, that's going to be your main goal, is to make sure that you've got those things in place. And then as you get more experienced, you can work on extending your season out into the fall, growing through the winter, having abundant harvest all year long, all right? So take this cheat, take this garden mind map, and use it as a framework for your garden, and it's going to save you a ton of time in your garden. And following the game plan is the key to success. You know, really with any of our students that we teach how to grow their own food, how to garden, we strongly encourage them to come up with a plan for the garden. That's where you start, is coming up with a good plan for your garden, because really, like anything else in life, without a plan, you're destined to really you're destined to fail, or at the very least you're destined to struggle without a good plan. And so having that plan to start out with really makes a huge difference. And once again, like, one of the things that encourages me the most is when I see our students succeed. When I see our students begin to experience the joy of an abundant harvest, when they start growing more food than they've ever grown before. Like, for example, like Roy Kim, like we mentioned earlier, where he said, I tried implementing what I learned through the school this summer from seed to harvest, and we had some good success, which really made me feel like a happy kid again. That makes me happy to hear about it. And he grew a ton of stuff in a 20 by 12 foot area. He was growing tomatoes, cucumbers, bell peppers, Korean peppers, Russian kale, Swiss chard, lettuce, green beans, dill, eggplant, a whole bunch of stuff. And he said there was a very noticeable difference in the amount of fruitage this year compared to last year. That's what gets me excited. Like Joelle here, who said, so much produce. I want to say this season might be the most ever thanks to the new methods I've been using from these gardening classes. Or Laree, who really considered herself to be a somewhat experienced gardener, but was like, I can't even tell you how much I've learned already from the gardening courses. And here's a picture of her harvest, today's garden haul. She says, I think it's safe to say I'll be snapping beans tomorrow. And later on, she posted this because she was super excited that they got their first December harvest thanks to using the quick hoops that Paul talks about in the course. They were just using the simple methods that we use to extend their season out into the fall, into the winter, really. And here's a little harvest from Stephen from Sweden. We got people from all around the world. And James wrote in and says, you know, I've been gardening for about 30 years and I still learn things from Paul and his dad. The kale and the collards still did well all winter. I ate fresh greens all winter long. Here's a picture of his kale and collards and his greens out there. So, like I said, you know, that is what gets me excited when I see the success of our students, and that's what I want for you. I want you to succeed. And I know you're here because you want to know how to build up your garden soil and grow nutrient-dense food that tastes amazing and that will keep you and your family healthy, right? You're here because you're tired of squash bugs. You're tired of the Japanese beetles, the pests, the weeds, the tomato hornworms, whatever it is, from coming and destroying your garden. And you want to know the secrets to grow beautiful organic veggies without constantly fighting pests and disease problems, right? And you're here because you want to know pro garden cheats to save a ton of time. You know, maybe you already have a super busy schedule and so you want to know these pro cheats to save a bunch of time and to easily grow an abundance of food in your backyard without going through the school of hard knocks, learning everything the hard way. So if you want that kind of help and those kind of results, then let me share with you what I'm doing and what I'm really excited about. This is really great. But first of all, let me just ask you this question. How much time do you have to spend in the garden? Like an hour a day, 2 hours a day? Probably not. You probably don't have 2 hours a day. Okay, what if we only said that you had 2 hours a week? That's like 20 minutes a day. 1 or 2 hours a week, all right? How much do you think that you could grow in that much time? Do you think that you could grow like a 10-foot by 10-foot garden? I want you to just think for a minute, like map it out on the floor, wherever you're at, 10 feet by 10 feet. Do you think you could grow a 10-foot by 10-foot garden? And just think about it, like how long would it take, for example, to weed a 10-foot by 10-foot garden? Maybe without the right tools, you're talking like 15, 20 minutes. If you don't have the right tools, you're trying to get in there and weed. But listen, with the right tools, it's only going to take you like 5 minutes max. 2-3 minutes probably. If you have the right tools and the knowledge to get in there and weed, it max 2 to 3 minutes. Honestly, if you know what you're doing, you could probably grow a 10 by 10 garden in probably 1 hour a week or less and get an abundant harvest easily. And here's an example, and this is a 10 by 10. I mean, it's extended out 20 feet, but it's called our Superfood Garden Plan. And it's just an example garden that you can grow in a 10 by 10 area and get a massive amount of produce off of it, or a good amount of produce off of it. And you could probably do this in an hour a week or less. And some of you are thinking, hey, I've got more time than that, and amazing, you can go above and beyond and double that out, and you can grow that much more food with the right knowledge and the right tools. And so here's something fun that I did with this Superfood Garden Plan. I decided to see how much could you save on your grocery bill just by growing this food. And so I calculated it up. I found a place, I'll put them in the resource list here, of where I found the stats of how much different vegetables are worth per square foot in a regular garden. And literally out of that 100 square feet, you could grow $814 worth of food. That's amazing. And in case you're thinking, man, that sounds a little bit over the top. Check this out, because Mother Earth News a while back posted this article called Edible Landscaping, Grow $700 of Food in 100 Square Feet, where Rosalind literally kept track of the food that she grew in her 100 square foot garden, and she grew almost $683 worth of food in her 100 square feet. So it's really not that far out of possibility to grow a lot of food in a small amount of space. And so you just got to ask yourself, how much money do you think that you could save on groceries by turning your backyard into a garden and taking that 100 square feet? So let's just say for an hour or two a week, you could save about $500 off of your groceries. Does that sound fair? That's a little bit conservative from the numbers we were just talking about. And some of you would be able to grow much larger gardens and do more than that, right? But what could you do with an extra $500? Help pay your mortgage, pay off one of your car payments, put it towards your kids' college, maybe go for a weekend vacation or something like that. Just the plus of being able to grow your own food and save money at the same time. And what if you took it to the next level and you knew the hacks and the cheats to save even more time? You had the right tools and were able to grow twice that much, maybe. What could you do with $1,000? Put back into your bank account just because you were growing your own food. And just to put it a little bit in perspective here too, what if all you learned was how to deal with tomato hornworms in your garden? You took the cheat from this class here, and let's say you only got 10 pounds of tomatoes last year off of your 10 plants. How much of a difference would it make in your life to simply and safely keep the hornworms away? How much do you think that it would affect your harvest? You had 10 tomato plants, got 10 pounds of tomatoes last year because the hornworms totally destroyed them. How much do you think it would affect your harvest? Maybe double your harvest? Triple your harvest? I mean, that would be pretty good, right? Triple your harvest? But no, no. You could easily 5 times your harvest just with that one cheat, with having those tomato plants, and grow 50 pounds of tomatoes instead of 10 pounds of tomatoes. That's only 5 pounds of tomatoes per plant. You could actually probably grow more tomatoes than that 7, 8 times, before. And then, what could you do with all those tomatoes? You could can them, share them with your friends, spread the joy. You could have a lot of fun with all of those tomatoes, right? And that could be just off of that one cheat. But what if you knew how to build up the health of your soil so that your veggies were literally resistant to pest and diseases, that you wouldn't have the pest and disease problems that you used to? Would you have less stress in the garden going out there to a beautiful garden without the bugs around, right? You'd have good bugs around, hopefully. Taking it to the next level too, what do you think that it would do for your health and for your health of your family a year from now? Growing your own food, eating out of the garden. Different studies show different results, but veggies literally could be losing 30 to 45% of their nutrient value in the time between being picked and landing in our mouth. That's a lot. You'll be getting way more nutrients from your food if you're growing them right out in your backyard, and you can pick them and eat them from garden to table in literally 30 minutes or less. So here is what I am so excited about, all right? You see, our members have had good success with our garden training so far. You just saw some of the members writing in about their different harvests and getting excited about their gardens. But it's only more recently that I've taken all of the training and compressed it down into our Gardening to Abundance game plan. So I took all of our training and created this framework, really creating a framework to grow a successful garden. And I'm looking for case studies of people who would like to double their harvest and build up their soil and keep bugs away naturally in their gardens. I'm looking for people who will walk through our Garden to Abundance game plan, who will implement it in their gardens this year, and who would like to see massive, massive results in their gardens. So if you want that kind of help and those kind of results, then let me introduce you to our Born to Grow Pro membership, where we literally walk you through our gardening game plan to grow a nutrient-dense, pest-free organic garden that will not only save you a ton of time and could double your harvest, but also could keep your family healthy in the years to come. So finally, everything you need to grow organic food right in your backyard without any headaches. That's our Born to Grow Pro membership. And here's a quick rundown of what's included in the Pro membership. When you become a program member, you get instant access to our entire garden training library. This is huge, with over 160 teaching and demonstration videos. So not only do we teach you about the concepts of gardening, but we show you, demonstrate to you in video how to do it as well. And those include master classes where I take some of our in-depth training and break it down into short, average around 10-minute videos, so that some of you I know are more busy. You got a busy life, and it gives you the opportunity to just get the key points that you need to know to grow your food in the master class. And then if you want to go deeper, you can go into the deeper training as well. Plus, my wife does little health and garden spotlights where she'll take a vegetable from the garden and share with you a really simple little recipe that you can create and use in your home and feed to your family. They're really awesome. We also do live monthly meetings with question and answer periods. So you can jump on live with us and ask any questions that you have from your garden. So that's super awesome. It's super interactive, really a lot of fun, one of our favorite parts. And then coming up, we're going to have a custom garden map checklist. This is a place where you can go in and simply put what you want to grow, and it will automatically tell you when you should be planting it based off of your location. Super powerful. And then bonus access to our private Facebook group, and that is just for our pro members. You get access to our private Facebook group where you can connect all month long, connect with each other, ask questions, and get your question answered. So let's just go in and look a little bit closer at each of these sections so you have a real good idea of what's included inside the Pro membership. So the first part here is our master classes, and these are really designed to give you exactly what you need to know in your garden in a short little video. So they average about 10 minutes. They're great for people that live on a busy schedule and just want to know exactly what they should be doing in your garden. And they guide you step by step through our game plan, our Gardening to Abundance game plan. So let me just jump over real quick and show you a little bit more in depth of what's covered in the master classes and in our more in-depth training. So our master classes literally walk you step by step through our Gardening to Abundance game plan, starting here with the ignition section, which really sets the foundation for a successful garden. I mean, everything starts here, talking about you'll learn how to get your soil tests done so you know exactly what nutrients you should focus on and to really build up a healthy soil. You'll have a better plan for your garden season so you're not running by the seat of your pants the whole way through, how to order your seeds, where to order your seeds, the best garden tools to have. And really, as you come from that ignition section, now that you have a solid garden plan and know exactly what to do to build up a healthy soil in your garden, you'll be able to grow a healthy garden that is resistant to pests and diseases much more effectively, which means you'll be able to double your harvest much faster, right? And once you can do that, you're on your way to growing a garden of abundance. Awesome. So that's the ignition section. So the next section is launch. And in this section, you'll come away knowing how to prepare your garden beds without breaking your back, so it's not killing you at the same time. How to grow starts that give an almost sure harvest in your garden, and how to keep your soil healthy over time. So you're going to learn, what plants to direct seed versus transplant, how to harden them off so that they're ready for the big world out there. Secret to a thriving garden, our 1-3 principle for composting, and the B+G sandwich composting method. And so in going through those master classes, now that you can prepare your garden without breaking your back and grow starts that give you an almost sure harvest, Now that you know how to keep your soil healthy over time, you'll be able to prepare and keep your soil healthy to start your veggies much faster and easier, saving you a ton of time and hard work. Which means that you'll have much more time to enjoy your garden, right? And your plants are going to be healthier each year, and you'll be on your way to growing nutrient-dense veggies that burst with flavor without being stressed or overwhelmed doing it. Super exciting. And the next stage here is grow, right? And in going through the grow masterclasses, you'll know exactly how to care for your plants, how to keep the bugs off naturally in an organic, healthy way, and how to help them thrive through all the way to harvest, where you can get that bountiful harvest from them. So you're going to learn about how to save water in your watering, super effective way of saving water. Weeding, why we say cultivate and don't weed. You'll learn about mulching, and trellising, our tie-up method, our cage method, the stake and weave method of trellising, natural pest control. Of course, we talked about our 3-step aphid cure formula in this class, but you'll also learn about our organic slug pellet solution, our sow bug cup control, diatom dusting insect control, deer busting, feed 'em up fat, different natural pest control solutions for your garden, and disease control as well, our fungal mix treatment plan, how you can boost them up with some compost tea, the solarization technique that you want to kind of use that one with caution, and then going into harvesting and all of that. So once you go through the Grow Master classes, now that you can keep your bugs away naturally and know how to care for your plants, you'll be able to keep your garden beautiful and healthy, which means that harvesting and enjoying the fruit of your labors will be so much more fun, honestly, so much more fun, and you'll be on your way to sharing in abundance with others as well. And that takes us to our last stage here, which is Extend, and this is exciting. When you go through the Extend master classes, you'll know exactly what to do to extend your season or to be harvesting fresh veggies straight through the winter. You'll learn our #1 winter protection cover, the quick hoop setup that we use that works so well. You'll know a simple tool that tells you exactly when to plant for the fall. All about growing in hoop houses and greenhouses. And in going through the Extend master classes, now that you can protect your veggies in the cold months, you'll be able to grow fresh veggies straight through the winter, or at least extend your season, which means you can have a fresh harvest all year long. And hey, once you can do that, you're on your way to growing all of your own food, all of your own veggies. So the master classes are super powerful, and there's links to go to deeper training from them as well. So the first part in our training library is the master classes. Next is our health spotlights. And these are really fun. This is where my wife takes a vegetable from the garden, brings it in, prepares it in a simple dish, and walks you through the whole process and highlights the nutritional and health benefits from them. And our members absolutely love them. Here's a little comment from Michael. He says, "Very well done video. I'm going to get some of the sweet potatoes we grew and make some fries this afternoon." My wife made these amazing sweet potato fries. It was absolutely just melt in your mouth. Wow. And so with our health spotlights, now that you have simple recipes to prepare delicious dishes from your garden produce, you'll be able to prepare amazing, wonderful tasting meals from the garden that your family absolutely love, which means everyone will be enjoying the garden more, your kids are going to love it more, you'll be on your way to a healthier, happier life. So we've got the master classes, health spotlights, and then next is our live monthly meetings with question and answer times. And this is where my dad and I jump on live with our whole membership. Anybody can get on, and we have a little training segment, and then we open it up for question and answers. And literally, you can ask anything, and we'll stay on as long as people have questions in our live meetings. We love the interaction with you. We love to hear from you and to help you with your challenges and struggles in the garden. And of course, you can share your joys with us too. And in one of the live meetings, Amy wrote in this little comment saying, "This membership is so worth it." And really, part of that is because we have this opportunity to connect with you through the live meetings once a month. And so with these live meetings, now that you have live access to us once a month during the meetings, you'll be able to get your garden questions answered without having to figure it all out on your own, which means you'll save the stress of sorting through different people's ideas, right? And we'll be able to learn what actually works, and you'll be on your way to growing an abundance harvest much faster. We love these meetings, and we'd love to have you on our next one. So we've got the master classes, the health spotlights, our live monthly meetings, plus next is our garden map checklists. And these garden map checklists are actually coming soon. It's we do, with our Plug and Play Garden Plan, we have some calendars that are made up for you already that you can just plug and play and use in your garden, but it's limited to 20 different vegetables, and it's just for the spring season. So you can go get started with those right away, and basically it's just a calendar that is set out that tells you exactly what you should be planting when. Saves you a ton of time figuring it all out on yourself. But coming soon, we are going to be launching these garden map checklists where you can literally put in anything that you want to grow, and it will tell you, map it out for you in your season based off of your location when you should be planting it. So that is going to be super powerful as well. So we've got the master classes, the health spotlights, live monthly meetings, and the custom map checklist, plus the bonus private Facebook group access. And this is really awesome too. This is where you get to connect with other members all month long. My dad and myself are in there. You can ask your questions. You can post your harvest pictures. It's so much fun. Like, for example, here's Melissa posted this harvest of, look at a wheelbarrow full of cucumbers. We've got jalapenos, tomatoes. Amazing. One of my favorite parts of the Facebook group really is when people post their harvest pictures. It's so much fun to see them. Here's a bunch more of people's harvests that they've been harvesting. So much fun. It's so exciting, and the Facebook group gives that opportunity for you to share with all of the other members and for us to encourage each other and help each other out. And so, hey, when you become a member, now that you're part of our private Facebook group, you'll be able to connect with other gardeners all month long, ask questions, share your joys, your harvest picks, which means everyone will be able to help each other faster and easier, and you'll be on your way to your best garden ever while making new friends at the same time. Okay, so quick little review here. As a pro member, you get instant access to our entire gardening training library. It includes the master classes, health spotlights, monthly meetings, garden map checklists, our private Facebook group access. But above and beyond that, I like to reward action takers, all right? People who take action. If you never take action, nothing happens, right? So for those of you who are on during our class time, I've got a special bonus for you, and that is our garden launch workshop. This is just for those that are on during class time. Unfortunately, it's not available for those of you that watch later with the replay. This is just for those that jumped on during class time, and it's what we call our fast action bonus. If you the link to get this is only going to be on during this class time. And what the Garden Launch Workshop is a 5-day workshop that I did with real students, and they paid $150 to attend the workshop live. It was online. We did it online, so I recorded it all, and so I listed it there as a $100 value. But what we did is we walked step by step with them how to put together a complete plan for your gardening season, how to decide which varieties of vegetables to grow, some of our favorite ones, walked them through ordering their seeds so you'll be able to, so that you'll be all set to plant when the time comes, and how to put together a complete planting calendar for yourself so you know how to do it, so you'll never have to worry about what you need to do each week, so you're not gardening by the seat of your pants. So like I said, fast action bonus only for those who showed up for the real class, and you only get this if you sign up through the link today. It's not going to be in any future links, so you got to sign up through the link today. So as a pro member, the total includes our entire garden training library, which honestly is easily worth over $500, the master classes, the health spotlights, monthly meetings, the garden map checklist, private Facebook group access, and for our fast action takers who showed up for the real class, you can get the Garden Launch Workshop free as a bonus, another $100 value. And the truth is, you're not going to be paying anywhere close to that because we've talked it over, and I'm doing a special offer for our class members, and that is to start out for a limited time to get 14 days free in the membership. I want you to be able to jump in and see what it's like for yourself, to look around, look at the master classes, check it out for yourself, and then it will automatically continue for just $15 a month. Or I've got a special offer for you class members as well to get 4 months free if you sign up at the yearly membership for $120 a year. Now that offer isn't anywhere else, so that's very special just for you all. In fact, both of these, you get 14 days free either way, whether you sign up monthly or yearly, but you can get 4 months free as a yearly member. So I should note again that this is a limited time offer. It's not going to be around for very long, and it's very simple to join. Just click the link on this page. There'll be a link on this page that you can click. It'll take you over to another page where you can join in and become a pro member. So, I don't know exactly where you are at in your garden. You may be like Jan, who had never gardened before and started out small. But imagine what it would be like to have your first harvest, of green beans and beets and corn, and be able to taste the fruit of your hands for the first time, because you've had the opportunity to go through a simple step-by-step process of growing your own garden. Or, you may be like Laree, who has gardened all of her life, but found so much more value in going through the training, and you might even come away with a wheelbarrow full of produce like in the picture here, or like Roy Kim, who tried implementing what he learned and saw a noticeable difference in the amount of fruitage this year compared to last year. Would you like that experience in your garden this year? That's what we would like to do with you, to hold your hand through the process and take you each step of the way and really see you have massive results in your garden. And really to top it off, we are so confident in the training that we will be taking you through for growing your garden that we are backing it up with a 1-year, no-fail, 100% money-back guarantee. And you might be wondering, how do you do that? Well, here's how it works. We are confident that if you go through and implement the steps that we talk about in the garden training, you are going to see a difference in your garden. You're going to have a better harvest. You're going to spend less time working in the garden. It's going to take less work. You'll have less stress. But if for any reason you go through your whole gardening season and you implement the processes that we tell you, and you, for some reason, it doesn't work out. Now, minus the fact of circumstances totally out of our control, like the weather and, a tornado comes through and tears your garden apart. But take those out. If you go through the whole process and it doesn't work for you, you don't see a massive impact in your garden, you can simply contact us and show us that you took the soil test, show us what you did, show us some pictures of your garden, tell us what happened. And if it didn't work for you, then obviously you wasted your time, and we want to back it up with your money, so we will give you 100% of your money back, guaranteed, because we really believe that walking through the garden game plan, you will see success. So really, the risk is on us. We really want to see you and your garden succeed and for you to come away with an abundant harvest. Now, you may be wondering, what's the cancellation policy? The membership is a month-to-month or year-to-year, depending on which you choose membership. There's no small print. You can cancel at any time. Just send us an email and say that you want to cancel the membership, and we'll cancel it, no questions asked, for you. So it's very simple. So listen, friends, now is the time to take your garden to the skies. Would you like to be one of our next case studies that goes through the Garden to Abundance game plan and sees massive results in your garden, abundant harvest that you can feed to your family, build the health of your family, and even share the abundance with your friends? Are you excited about doing that? So for a very limited time, this is limited. We're not going to keep this offer around for very long. You can get 14 days free as a member, plus you can get the 4 months free if you sign up for the yearly membership. And all you need to do is click the link on this page or visit borntogrow.net/join. So click the link on this page or go to borntogrow.net/join. It's going to open up a new window that has a page with more information about the membership. You can scroll down and read through it more. But what you need to do is click Start Now for free, and it'll take you to the part of the page where you can choose whether you want to sign up monthly or yearly. Then you'll click Sign Up Now, and it will take you to a secure checkout page. It's 100% secure. You'll put in your information, click Register, and you'll be in. And we'll have an exciting adventure together. But like I said, it is a limited time, 14-day free trial. And it's not going to stay around for too much longer. So click the link on this page or visit borntogrow.net/join. And once again, for the fast action bonus, make sure to click the link before we close out here, because if you're on during the class time, this is the only place that you can get that link and sign up. So if you sign up through that link right away, then you can get that fast action bonus and get the garden launch workshop as well. Hey, thank you all so much for being with us through this class. It means a lot to me that you put the time into investing in this training, and I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your garden. I can't wait for you to join the Pro membership, to see you in the Facebook group, to experience you in the live meetings, to help you through your gardening process, hold your hand through it, and see you have the success that other of our members are having. And also, as a super special thank you for staying with us through this whole class, like I said at the beginning, I've got that special bonus for you. You'll find a link for it for the Plug and Play Garden Plan at the bottom of the page, the Pro membership page. So just click the link here to go over there, and you'll find the link for your free bonus at the bottom of that page as well. Otherwise, take these cheats that we've learned in this class, go use them in your garden, and I wish you extreme and abundant success in your garden this year. Hey everyone, have a wonderful night, and God bless.